Hello, my name is Denise Chisholm, and I'm a pre-K teacher at Meredith Dunbar Early Childhood Academy. In this presentation, I'll be joined by two other pre-K teachers, Carrie Sanchez and Alexandria Lewis. Together, we'll share with you information about how we use data in our classrooms and also the importance of data-driven instruction. So thank you for joining us as we get on track. Again, I'm Denise Chisholm, and thank you for joining me for the presentation, Get On Track. I'll also be joined by Carrie Sanchez and Alexandria Lewis. Today's objectives: learn different strategies to track progress and celebrate achievements. Learn how to help students demonstrate mastery of guidelines or standards. Learn how to create trackers to display your students' individual or your class progress. And finally, learn how to create student data tracker folders. So how will teachers benefit? Teachers will gain ease for grouping their small group and individual instruction in their traditional or blended learning classrooms. You will have a better focus on the individual needs of your students, and teachers will gain a better understanding of the importance of data tracking and its benefits for students and teachers. Data tracking. Why is it important? Data is one of the most powerful tools in the classroom. Data helps to inform, engage, and create opportunities for students along their educational journey. It's not just test scores. Tracking data is also used to make connections. So why should students track their own data? When students track their own data, it helps them take ownership of their learning. Tracking their data also helps to increase their motivation to learn. When students track their own data, it helps them with goal setting. When teachers use data to drive their decisions and plans, they are able to respond to problems more effectively, construct new teaching methods, and advance skill sets better and faster. So in turn, this helps students to excel in their learning. Data tracking and collaboration. How does this work? Keep it basic by using simple tools and techniques that connect with each other. Start small and scale your effort with progress until you find a method that works for you. Analyze your efforts and reflect on whether the steps you have taken have made a difference. Engage your students in this process by involving them with setting goals. Encourage your students to reflect upon their own progress. Like I mentioned before, when students track their own progress, it helps them with setting goals. Use graphs and charts to track progress, just like the one that's shown on the side. This is a tracker for students using to track their own progress, and it's also a piece for the teacher to use for assessments. And it's a great collaboration between the student and the teacher. And finally, just be open, communicating and collaborating with others, and sharing information about the outcomes and explaining how your instruction will be modified based on the new data that's been collected. So don't be afraid to talk to your teacher friends. So data tracking tools. In the classroom, we can use data folders for our students. Tracking their own data, remember, gives students ownership over their accomplishments or their struggles. So in many cases, students need to improve, and it helps them to show areas that we need more help in. So these are also great to show parents at conference time. That way they can help their child at home. Campus data walls. These are used to display the students' data. However, the key to this board is limited to just a single skill and mostly for memorization. So the students will have to memorize what was put on the data boards if you use a data board. Now this is a huge campus one that we use, so and it has the different columns. That way we'll know which students are below, which students have mastered certain skills. So if you use similar in the classroom, it's going to be a lot of memorization for students. So you need to choose skills that will be manageable for students to memorize. That way they're able to relate the information back to you. Teacher data binders are also great to use, and we can use these to keep track of your students' data, and it's a centralized location and organized, and it's something that can be used to access the information quickly, and a great use for when we're assessing our students, so we can have that information ready at hand. So data clipboards and spirals. Clipboards and spirals are also useful for small groups. You can color code your clipboards or spirals. You can mark them in a way that makes them easy to identify, especially when you need to grab it quickly. You can hang it on a wall that's next to you when your small group meets. Again, that way it's easy for you to access, and you can just jot down that information and keeping track of that data right next to you. In the picture also, I have listed just a one subject data tracker, and it shows what the skill the student is working on, and yes I can, or no I'm still working on this skill. And this gives a great visual for the students to track their own progress, and also for the class to see what everyone else is working on. So student data tracking folders. And why are these great for teachers and students? Data folders are a way for students, teachers, and parents to keep track of their students' performance. Students are tracking and monitoring their own data. Teachers conference with students after checkpoints, and they have conversations about their growth. So these are great tools for the data tracking folders. Students recognize areas of their strengths and areas that need improvement. The folders are used also to facilitate small group instruction, which will be designed specifically to meet the individual needs of the students. So, how do we create a data folder? You simply need a folder, and you can insert sheets with the information that the teacher or student would like to track. Just like the girl in the picture, she's using a data tracking folder, and on her sheet, she's tracking how high she can count, and she's marking with a smiley face, so she's tracking her own goals. And finally, don't forget to celebrate. What are you going to use to celebrate your students' goals? Are you going to use stickers, a class party, extra recess, extra one-on-one educational time? Be sure to have an incentive for your students as you're tracking those goals. I'm going to finish my segment by talking about grouping and the role that data plays. Why is data important for grouping students? Data helps adjust whole group instruction to meet the broad needs of the entire class. Data also helps to strategically group learners in order to differentiate your instruction based on the shared needs of your students. And data helps to create individual learning pathways that support the unique needs of each student in your classroom. So data does play a very important role with grouping the students amongst your classroom. So what are some benefits of data when it drives your grouping? Students achieve higher. Students also gain a deeper understanding of learned material. Students tend to have lower levels of anxiety and stress when they're placed in a small group setting. Students gain a greater perspective of their learning. Students build relationship with their peers. And students learn appropriate use of their collaborative skills, so they're given better opportunities in that smaller group setting. And finally, Students are encouraged to use their team building skills. So they're learning to take turns, they're learning to be leaders, they're sharing in a smaller setting. So this is giving them better opportunities to practice those team building skills. So coming next, we have Carrie Sanchez, and she's going to present to you the many ways that she uses data in her classroom.
Hi, I'm Carrie Sanchez, and I'm a pre-K teacher over at Meredith Dunbar. And I'm part of the Cohort A of Blended Learning. So this is going to be my third year teaching with blended learning in my classroom. And today I'm going to talk to you about how I use must-dos and may-dos in my classroom, and how I group the students in the must-dos and the may-dos. I'm also going to talk about how the students take ownership of their own work and setting their own goals. And then I'm going to talk about how they master and demonstrate how they master these goals that they have set for themselves. Okay, I'm going to start by talking about the blended learning model that we're using in our pre-K. It's the station rotation. After a face-to-face lesson, students rotate through learning stations where at least one of the activities is online or digital. Teachers work with students in small groups or individually to target learning needs. So this is the model that we chose to use in pre-K for the fact that we already do small groups in our classroom. So we thought that this would be the best fit for us. It starts out by introducing or reviewing concepts with a quick check for understanding. And we do this usually as a large group on the large carpet. Then we moved into our small groups, where we have the digital content, the independent work, collaboration work, and the targeted small group table with a teacher. This is all student reflection or checks for understanding. You can find this model and the other models that is used for blended learning on the TISD website under online resources, staff, and then there's a section for blended learning. So how do I group my students? Well, groups are based off of students' report cards or CLI assessments. Each colored group has a playlist that helps students stay on track for achieving their similar individual goals. So what I do is I base them off of a color, and for example, the white color has all the kids with a higher level group. These kids probably know all of their letters, or they know how to count already up to 30. So they're going to set a higher goal. So they usually set a goal of phonological things like rhyming or syllabications. Then I have my yellow group, which would be my lower level group. And those are the kids that on the CLI assessment and report cards, they only know 5 letters, if that. Letter sounds, they probably don't know any. And so their goal is usually to work on these skills. The colors in the middle, the green and the red, those are the students that are usually in the middle. The red is usually the higher middle level, and the green is more the lower middle level. So the red probably knows all of their letters, but they're still working on letter sounds. And the green group might know maybe 10 to 15 letters, maybe no letter sounds. So I base these groups off of their needs and what their goals are. May-dos and must-dos. Must-dos. Instructional playlist of activities that the student must complete before moving on to the next. Tasks are most directly aligned with the learning goals. Students who finish must-do tasks early can move on to the may-do task. Here are some examples of my must-dos. In the digital content area, I like to use a lot of QR codes. The QR codes are good for the students because it takes them right where I want them to be, instead of them getting on things that they shouldn't be on the internet. The first one is a poster that I made, and the QR code takes you straight to a letter sound song for each of the letter of the alphabet once they scan the QR code. The one in the middle is a ring book that I made with different stories that they can listen to after they scan the QR code. And then the one on the end is a beginning sound game that they can scan the QR code and it will let them know if they were correct with the letter that the word begins with. I also like to use Starfall or ABC Mouse, or I like to use Imagination Math. This is good because it can give you an assessment and let you know where the child is at that time. Independent work, I use writing, writer's workshops, bookmaking. For this, I'll either do emergent readers or I'll just give them some paper and pencils and they can just make a book of their own. I also do silent reading. And for this, I like to just have a basket of books on the table and they can take out books and they can look at the books and picture read on their own. Phonics games like syllable games and rhyming games. Letter and recognition and letter sound games are always good too. And Write the Room is my favorite. I like to base it off the theme that I'm working on that week with the students. I like to put pictures and their word around the room, and the students take a clipboard with a paper that has a picture on it, and they have to go around the room to find that picture and write that word. Each group of students have a different activity that they're doing based on their color that I coded them for their level. For example, in the digital content, for the students that are in the lower level, I would have them do more of the letter recognition and letter sound games. And for the higher level group, I would give them more of the phonics games. For example, the beginning sound of the letter game. In the independent work, I like to have in the writing workshop, the students will do more of writing words if they're in the higher level group. And in the lower level group, they're probably just going to be working on writing letters of the alphabet or writing their name. Also in the phonics game is usually where I'll use for the higher level students. And letter recognition and letter sounds are usually for the lower level students. As for Write the Room, all the students will have the opportunity to find the words and write those words. Examples of I must do for my collaboration table, I like to put listening stations. The students can listen to a story on tape, and then when they're finished, I have a poster on the table that they can draw something that they remember from the story or their favorite part of the story. They need to work together to make their one poster. I also like to use phonics games. For example, in the first picture, I have one of syllable sort. The students can sort the cards into how many syllables that word has. They have to work together as a team to finish all the cards before they can move on to their may do. I also like to do letter recognition games and letter sound games. The picture in the middle is usually what I use for my higher level group. It's a beginning letter sound game. The students will pull out letters from a basket and match it with the beginning letter of the picture that they see. I also like to use, for example, matching letters. I like to use this for my lower level group where the students will pull out letters out of a pizza box and match that topping letter to the pizza. So it's just a letter recognition game. They have to put them all on the pizza before they can move on to a may-do, so they need to work together to finish this. At the targeted teacher table, know your purpose for the lesson, your skill levels, and check for progress. So for examples that I like to do at my teacher table is, for the lower level students, I like to play letter recognition bingo. Once they fill their whole bingo card up, then they get to go get a may-do. I also like to do this with my higher level groups, and we'll do games, for example, of rhyming or syllable games, or the groups that are basically in the middle level, I will do letter sound. So instead of doing the letter recognition bingo, I might do a letter sound bingo. I base it upon their skill levels. This is a good place to find out where that student is and get a good assessment of that. May-do boxes can only be accessed after finishing their must-do playlist. May-do colored boxes match their colored skill level group. Tasks are a variety of instructional activities, including content review, deeper learning, and activities based on their respective needs. It can reinforce what they've learned in the must-do tasks, still having choice in their learning by choosing from different activities in their colored boxes. So in my boxes, they have a choice between 5 different activities that are based off of their goals. Here are some examples of what I put in my May-do boxes. I use paper and writing tools, or dry erase boards and dry erase markers. Chalkboards and chalk are also fun to use too. Small books, letter recognition games, puzzles, letter tracing, phonic games, beginning letter sound games. I will base these boxes on what each skill level goal that they have. So for example, in my higher level boxes, I will probably have more of the phonics games. And in my lower level boxes, I might have letter recognition games or beginning letter sound games. It's based upon what their goal is. Now I'm going to talk about student ownership. Students work at their own pace to complete the must-do before moving on to the may-do. Students take more accountability for their learning, even to the point where they're tracking their own data. In this picture, I have an example of what I did in my classroom for their goal chart. I based it off of CLI Engaged or report cards. And the first one is the letter recognition goal. In the green is if the students can name 1 or 5 letters of the alphabet. And in the blue with a crown, that's where they know all their letters of the alphabet, which I had a few students by the end of the school year that did. At the bottom was a math goal. The goal was to count to 30. In the orange, these students needed a little more work and they were still counting to 5. And in the yellow with the crown, those students were already counting to 30. Once they've met that goal, they've set another goal for themselves. Once they've met that goal, instead of letter recognition, since they know all their letters now, they've set a new goal. For example, letter sounds or rhyming. And in math, once they've known how to count to 30, they'll set another goal of maybe shapes or patterns, depending on what the student wants their goal to be. Students that are excited to learn grow and push themselves to higher expectations because they are the ones who own their own learning. Finally, I'm going to talk to you about how students demonstrate mastery. Show me this through report card assessments, CLI Engage assessments, working in a small group or one-on-one at the teacher target table. This is a great place to see if the students are staying on task and showing ownership of their goal choices. This is a great area also to let me know if it's time to move a student out of the group that they're in and move them into a different group in between doing the report card assessments and the CLI Engage assessments. Also, you can see this by observing them collaborating with the other students and using Seesaw to take pictures or video of their finished must-do work. If you have any questions or you would like a copy of my must-do and may-dos that I use in my classroom, you can email me at carrie.sanchez@tisd.org. Next up is Alexandria Lewis, and she's going to talk to you about Interactive learning.
Hi, I'm Alexandria Lewis. I'm a pre-K teacher at Meredith Dunbar. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the importance of goal setting in the classroom, as well as some interactive learning websites that your students can do in the classroom as well as at home. Today, I'm going to start out with goal setting. We're going to talk about why is it important to set goals. Goals are going to give purpose to the work that is being done. When a child knows why they need to learn something, it gives them that much more motivation to learn it. Goals allow the student to focus on the topic without being overwhelmed. When you set goals, you break the learning into small, more manageable parts, making it less overwhelming. This is especially true when you're working with the younger students. When you're able to give them something small to work on at a time, then it's letting them focus more on that one main part. Setting goals works as motivation to keep working to meet your goals. When you set goals, it makes it easier to keep track of your progress. It allows the child to see how far they have come. Even in pre-K, this is so important. The kids love to track their progress, and they're doing it independently a lot of the times. They're so excited to show how far they have come. The last one is confidence. The students get to see all the progress that they've made, and it really changes how they start to see themselves. I'm starting to see more engaged and more eager students when we have set these goals with each other. What do we use to set goals? You can use a lot of things. We can use report cards, and we also use our CLI data. One thing we use to set goals are report cards. Using data from report cards to set goals allows the students to focus on the guideline or the TEAC that pertains most to their learning. This can be set individually on a one-on-one basis to really hone in on the skills that a certain child needs, or it can be an overall goal throughout the class. We used a lot of overall goals when we were working to learn all of our letter sounds, or rote counting skills is when we used more overall classroom goals. Report card grades let you easily see where a student needs to focus in order to meet that goal. The next thing we can use for goal setting are our CLI reports. Using results gathered from CLI is an easy way to group your students based on their needs. This allows goal setting to be quick and easy. It also provides lessons to focus on to meet the individual needs of the student. So if you look down here at the picture, you can see where it said rapid letter naming. Now this is just a demo picture. If you were doing this with your students, it would have their names listed in those red boxes, and it says what they need to work on. So demo student 10, 9, 8, they all need to work on rapid letter naming. So if you look underneath there, it says they need to work on name puzzles, letter sorts, and I Spy environmental print. So it's already making these groups for you. So if that was a goal, rapid letter naming, then you could have those resources right there in front of you. These groups are fast ways to make new goals for your students based on their needs. CLI Engage provides the resources and a list of any extra supplies that may be needed. I'm going to show you a quick lesson that it has provided. It will show a video of how to actually conduct it with your students, the things that they will be learning, and additional items that you may need. Right now, I'm on the CLI Engage website. I am looking at different activities. These ones are going to be pre-kindergarten through second grade. They have different grade levels for you to find what really works for your students. As I scroll down here to the bottom, it just has some different sample activities that can be used. I'm just going to click on digging for sounds. This could easily be a goal. You want your students to know X amount of letter sounds, and this is one way to help. At the beginning, it's going to show you the objective. The child will identify the beginning letter sound of objects. So if this is your goal, this is something you could do in a small group if you have multiple students who need the same goal.
All right, today you guys will get a chance to dig for some objects. You will kind of be like explorers and you will use your hands to dig for some objects. We are going to practice some things with beginning sounds. We know what beginning sounds are. In this tub, I have rice and I have different kinds of objects, but they do not all begin with the same letter. And there's also another smart part here. You have to come up with other words that begin with that letter. Are you ready to find out what you are really going to do today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now it just starts out with the introduction. You could follow this word for word. A lot of these are scripted. They do have the video to show you how to do it, but there's also a script. So you're knowing exactly what to say and when to do it. So the key behaviors for this are names items, talk about letter names, talks about letter sound correspondence. So you're hitting on a lot of different topics all at one time. I'm not going to show you this whole video, but I just wanted to let you see this as a resource that you can use in your classroom. Now I'm going to talk to you about some interactive learning. So why should we use interactive learning in our classroom? Interactive learning is hands-on. Students are more engaged because the lessons are directed to their specific needs. These interactive learning websites are going to let the students do a couple of sample activities at the beginning, and then it's going to really target into where they need to be. Interactive learning is very flexible. It can be used on computers or iPads. Many interactive tools can be used at school and at home. So even if your student is working on something at school, they can still get onto these sites and be exactly where they were at school as well. Some of the interactive learning programs I'm going to talk to you about today is Imagine Math and ABC Mouse. Imagine Math is an interactive math program that uses vocabulary, songs, and visuals to promote student learning. And it also has that data tracking as well. Now I'm going to show you this song, Hungry Crocodile song. These are the type of songs that you'll see on Imagine Math. They're really engaging to the student and fun. So let's go ahead and watch this one.
I'm the hungry crocodile, and here's my hungry, hungry smile. I'm always facing to the side with the biggest pile. The other pile is way too small. I never face that way at all. I never face that way at all.
As you can see, that's just a fun song, and it's also teaching the concept. So when they are doing these programs, they have that song to really refer back to. I also talked to you about the data tracking. So if you look over here at the picture down at the bottom, you're able to see it has student names, which program they're on, and where they are in their lessons. This allows you to see how far they've worked, who is really stuck where, and how much time they're using at school and how much time they're using it at home as well. I know Imagine Math, our students try to cycle in at least once or twice a week to really work on these skills. Next, I am going to be talking to you about ABC Mouse. ABC Mouse is an online curriculum for ages 2 through 8 years old. It focuses on reading, math, science, colors, and art. They also have the progress trackers that allows you to see how many lessons have been completed, as well as graphs that show the academic level and subjects being reviewed. So if you look, it has it in all different ways. So here's their ticket progress. ABC Mouse is going to give the students tickets to purchase different things on the site. Just little things to add to their character or add to their room inside the game. So it's a reward system on there. You can see how many levels have been completed right here. And the different things that they're doing. So art, songs, books, puzzles, and games. It's really breaking it down for you. And so this is what you would see and how you could then assign different goals for the students. Thank you so much for attending our training, Get on Track. I hope you were able to really take some things from this training that you can add to your classroom. All of these strategies can be used in traditional classrooms as well as the blended learning models. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Denise Chisholm, Carrie Sanchez, or myself, Alexandria Lewis. Thank you.